get started. First of all, I'd like to thank our breakfast sponsor this morning, which is Canvas by Instructure. And I'd like to invite up Brian Whitmer, the co-founder of Canvas by Instructure, to introduce our keynote breakfast speaker. Brian? Good morning.
So I don't usually like printed statements, but I thought I'd avoid a Michael Bay moment, so I've got some paper here in front of me. Should be good to go. Thank you everybody for coming. Transforming EDU is a very exciting conference. At Instructure, when I started the company with a friend of mine in 2008, our goal was the same, to transform education. If you didn't know, we're currently having an education innovation competition where we're giving away $100,000 in educational grants in both higher ed and K-12. We've already gathered over 200 submissions, and we'll be announcing the results in March at South by Southwest EDU. I'm here today to introduce Anant to talk a little bit about MOOCs. Canvas has been involved in MOOCs for a while now. We have what's called the Canvas Network. If you didn't know, we recently finished up a course called Society Science Survival, Lessons from AMC's The Walking Dead. So it was a course that ran in tandem with the latest season of The Walking Dead. Every week we would come out with a new module covering some topics that were related to the show, but were very academic. We ran it with UC Irvine, and it was a lot of fun for everybody that was involved. We just released this morning a report with fresh data on this experiment, how this pop culture connection affected the learning experience. And what we found was that 59% of the Walking Dead MOOC students had never taken an online course before, and 90% said that they learned something they would not have otherwise considered studying. So this represents the power of the MOOC format. The P words really hit the microphone strong. I'll lean over a little. To reach new audiences we haven't reached before, and to create a spark for learning where maybe it didn't exist before. No one has dedicated more time or energy to this than our speaker this morning, Anant Agarwal, president of edX. Anant taught the very first course for edX on circuits and electronics from MIT, which drew 155,000 students from 162 countries. He has served as the director of CSAIL, MIT's computer science and artificial intelligence laboratory, and is a professor of electrical engineering and computer science at MIT. Anant holds a PhD from Stanford and a bachelor's from IIT Madras. Anant is a member of the National Academy of Engineering, a fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and a fellow of the Association for Computing Machinery. He hacks on WebSim, a web-based circuits laboratory, in his spare time. Please join me in welcoming Anant Agarwal to Transforming EDU.
Thank you, Brian. So thank you all for giving me the opportunity to chat with you this morning. A couple of years ago, a very strange thing happened. It seemed like education became exciting again. Or I should say education became exciting, period. Just imagine at a consumer electronics show, having something on education, something that was relegated to the back rooms and boring stuff, no VC funding, none of that. But today, a lot of it has been transformed, and a lot of the credit goes to online learning and this crazy four-letter word called MOOCs. So I'm going to talk about some of our MOOC experiences and talk about how many of our partners are using MOOCs on campus and what I think the next generation campus will look like. My Twitter handle is listed there as well. So this is, so what you see here is not a rock concert, and the person you see up on the stage is not Miley Cyrus. This is actually a classroom at the Obafemi Awolowo University in Nigeria. And if you think about education here, we all thought distance education was strange, but the people in the back here I would say have long-distance education. That really, access to education is a real challenge all over the world, whether it's in the US or outside. What we'd like to do through online learning technologies, really transform education around the world, increase access to education, but even within our own campuses, turn education from this model where you have all the students sitting in neat little rows, like corn stalks, with a lecturer lecturing at students, to much more of a collaborative, fun experience. So edX is a nonprofit venture. You go to edx.org, you can take these great free courses, these MOOCs, from universities like MIT, Harvard, Georgetown, Tsinghua University, and so on. Our mission is threefold: increase access. We'd like to educate a large number of people all over the world. We want to improve campus education, and we want to advance research. And in today's talk, I'll try to give you a couple of vignettes in each of these three categories. So one reason why MOOCs became really popular was just the amount of people that like free stuff. And at edX, we've become really good at giving things away. We're a nonprofit, and so we can do that, I guess. So we give away free education, and I'll talk about other things we give away for free as well. So clearly one of the big things that attracted people to MOOCs was the large numbers of students that would come in and take these courses. So we had 155,000 students take our first course, and 7,200 students passed what was a very, very hard MIT course. Now, 155,000 is a big number. That's bigger than the total number of alumni of MIT in its 150-year history. 7,200 is also a big number. I would have to teach at MIT for 35 years before I could teach as many students as passed this course. So these are big numbers. So edX over the past, we started about a couple of years ago, and we've had a bit of impact out there. So this just sort of summarizes where we are today. We have 1.7 million plus learners from every single country in the world. We have had over 3 million people take courses. We have 132 courses on a platform in a number of languages: Mandarin, Chinese, French, of course, English. But we have one of the really interesting numbers that people don't talk about a whole lot is that, and this number is a couple of weeks old, so it's already dated in this MOOC world. We have over 100 courses happening on our campuses around the world where instructors are using the blended model to work with students. And those blended model classes are being taken by close to 10,000 students around the world within campuses. We have a number of partners. We have on the order of 40 institutions that work with edX, including ETH in Zurich, or Australian National University, IIT Bombay, and so on. When we started 2 years ago, we started with one course. And today we have over 132 courses in topics ranging from biology to math to humanities. One course from Wellesley College was Alexander Great. We have course in history, China X, for example, from Peter Boal at Harvard. So really ranging in a wide range of disciplines: business, law, medicine, liberal arts, and so on. We've also worked quite a bit in terms of what do students get out of this? Let's really think about what does the future of the world look like with education. And so on our platform, we worked on coming up with a way in which users can get some new form of credential. Now, in the past, there were these things called degrees. How many of you have heard of this thing called degrees? So I wrote this article in the Huffington Post a few weeks ago titled Unbundled. But I talk about how a lot of the things that we think about university are likely to be unbundled in the future. And so one of the amazing statistics is that already 32% of people have degrees, but 28% of people sport certificates. So certificates and alternative forms of credentialing are gaining huge popularity. So you come to edX, you can audit a course. That's free. You can take a honor code certificate. And that is also free. And then we also have verified certificates where we verify identity and so on. And for that, you have to pay a small fee. In addition to that, we launched what are called X series. So at edX, we attach this little X thing to whatever we can find. So what's an X series certificate? So learners and employers alike were telling us, look, it's fun to take one course. But really, I'm interested in a program. I'm interested in a sequence of courses that can help me show mastery in some discipline. So we launched X series certificates, which are sequences of courses. And so we have such sequences of courses in computer science. And if you pass the sequence of courses at the end of it, you get a credential called an X series certificate. And so these credentials for programs of courses, I think, are going to be a big next step in MOOCs. And we announced this about 3 months ago. So I talked about at edX, we are practiced in giving things away for free. So we give away courses for free. But we took the next step. And in that sense, edX is, among MOOC providers, edX is unique in that respect. We're also a nonprofit, which is also unique. We open sourced our platform. What that means is that we are giving away our entire piece of software for free. So if you go to openedx.org, you can download every bit of our code, every bit. We don't keep anything back. Our hosting scripts, the software is all given away. And so you can take the code, and if you like, if you're an entrepreneur, you can set up a competitor edX using our same software. And the benefit to us, of course, is that as people contribute to the software, we all benefit. And in recent times, a lot of sites have opened up. So for example, France launched, the France Education Ministry launched FUN, standing for France Université Numérique, which is a digital university using Open edX. Tsinghua and the Ministry of Education China launched XueTangX, which is a Chinese education platform, again using edX. Stanford launched class.stanford.edu using the Open edX platform. So down here, it says built on Open edX. So Stanford was building its own platform, so they're now working with edX and they're using Open edX, not just for Stanford online courses, but on their campus for continuing education and for medical certification, and really adopting edX in a big way. And they've been a huge contributor to the edX platform, contributing a number of mechanisms to the platform. What you see here was our latest partnership with Queen Rania. She launched for the Middle East EdRock, which stands for school, which is a Middle East Arabic platform, MOOCs, again based on Open edX. So we took the next step and we gave the platform away for free as well. So what does an online course look like? Very quickly, so this is, if you're a student, this is what you will see. We replace lectures with what we call learning sequences. A learning sequence is an interleaved sequence of short videos and interactive exercises. What that does is engage the students when they watch a video and then do a piece of exercise to try to really solidify the knowledge and interact with that content. And learning researchers have known that for a long time that this can really promote, this form of learning is called active learning and can really promote educational outcomes. And here again, I want to really give a shout out to education researchers in that a lot has been known in education for a long time. You may think that MOOCs were the first piece of cool new thing in education. No. Even the concept of videos and interactive exercises has been done a long time ago. Active learning has been known. So this was a paper by Craig and Lockhart in '72. Just that none of us paid any attention to papers in education. I've been teaching at MIT for 26 years. My first education paper that I read was last year. And so I think what MOOCs are doing is really popularizing a lot that has been known in the education community for a long time. And so lest you think that MOOCs invented this whole thing, no. MOOCs, for better or for worse, really popularized education and made it really cool and fun, which I think is a really good thing. Another thing about online learning is instant feedback that really promotes learning as well. So here's an example on the edX platform. We can automatically assess and provide feedback on all kinds of assessments, equations. Here's an example of a chemistry equation. So I'll give you a quick little video. So it says write a balanced equation for something. So a student enters the equation, and oops, they got it wrong. They tried again, oops, they got it wrong. Oh, they got it right. They get a little green check mark. And this instant feedback really, really promotes learning. And students are telling us that they go to bed at night dreaming of this green check mark. And I knew we had arrived. This green check mark has actually achieved meme status. And we discovered this on the web. So many of you have seen this little character. He's a very popular meme character. When you get the green check mark for all your answers on the first attempt. So we knew we had arrived when something that we did reached meme status. So we also bring gamification into our platform. There are a lot of online labs that allow us to, that enable students to do simulation-based online experiments and really play with interactivity and virtual laboratories. I'll show you a quick little demo. Can we amp up the audio, please? So listen carefully. So this is a simulation. This was from the Science of Cooking course from HarvardX. And so here, a learner can go in, and they're teaching science and physics and chemistry through cooking. And So here, a student can go in and select a piece of different kinds of meat, steak, fish, whatever you want, chicken. And then you can decide the recipe, 4 minutes on a side, 2 minutes on a side, you at temperatures, so on and so forth. And then you hit the punch, you punch the cook button, and here's what happens. They're cooking tuna. So the steak sizzles and cooks. And then they can do a bunch of other experiments like check the temperature gradients, and they do heat transfer, and they do a bunch of other stuff based on experiments like this. So it's a lot of cool little labs that happen as well. Let me switch gears for a little bit and talk about how this can impact campus. So we've been experimenting quite a bit with many campuses, and this was an experiment with San Jose State University in California. So here, they took an edX course, the Circuits and Electronics course, and flipped the classroom on their campus. And there, they had students watch videos and do the interactive exercises in their dorm rooms. And then they would come to class, and there they would have discussions with the professor and work on exercises in small groups. And the results were, these are preliminary, were staggeringly good. The course retake rate, so traditionally this course required of all engineering majors at San Jose, the failure rate was about 40%. With this form of learning, the failure rate fell down to 9%. And they've been seeing similar results. And this has been now done 3 times in a row, fall, spring, and then fall again. And this course is now expanded to the entire California State University system, and it's being taught in a number of other universities. And you'll see some aggregated results coming out pretty soon. So here's an example of what we see happening with these blended courses. So these 3 curves here, the red, green, and purple, are traditional distributions of grades, grade scores and percentage of the class. What we're seeing with the blended class is that because the students are able to learn at their own pace, that we made learning become flexible. Okay, learning's become flexible, and notice that the number of students getting low grades is much lower, and the grades are much more packed around the higher grades. So in the past, learning was inflexible. You go to class, it's rigid, and grades are flexible. They're distributed all the way from 0 to 100. But what you see with the blended classes, when it's more flexible for the students, where they can put in more time or less time, be interactive, there we are finding that they can put more or less time into it, but the grades become much more rigid and seem to be more leaning towards the higher end of the grade scale. Similar results from we've done experiments with community colleges, Mass Bay and Bunker Hill, and there they found that the average grade points of the students in the class doing the courses were about 10 points higher than comparable MOOC students doing the courses outside. And so you see Professor Jamie LaRue here. Professor LaRue is an assistant professor at Bunker Hill, and there's an interesting quote from her. So many of you have heard a lot about this in the press, where you've heard some arguments that, oh my God, professors are worried that they're going to be replaced. So there I encourage you all, and the press in particular, just talk to the professors who are doing this. Okay? And rather than speculating, talk to the professors. And here's what Jamie LaRue will say. So she says that in the blended class that she taught, she took this MIT course on computer science and blended the classroom and used that course as a new age textbook in her class. And what she said is that her students would have never got through the course if not for the in-class component where she worked with the students in a blended model. And professors are telling us that they really get much more time to interact with the students because they don't have to stand in front and lecture at the students for many hours. At Tsinghua University, a blended class at Tsinghua, there they've taken their classrooms, they're an edX partner, and they put blackboards on all 4 walls of the classroom. And instead of rows of desks, they've got little rounded tables. Students come in and work with each other. And again, very good results. Not only were the overall results better, but the student evaluations were incredible. Students also seem to love it. At MIT, again, in the space of, and all this began, at least for us, 2 years ago. And MIT has been doing this for about a year on campus. And there's 4,500 on-campus students at the undergraduate level at MIT. And almost half of them, 2,100, are now engaged in the blended model using edX in one way, shape, or form in 23 classes on campus. And the results are also pretty amazing. I'll give you one example result published in the MIT newspaper in November. In the freshman chemistry course, MIT sends out this thing called a freshman fifth week flag. Okay, it's a letter to the students. You don't want to get the letter. It's called a freshman flag that says, hey, look, watch out. You're not doing so well in the course. This is a wake-up call. And in 2012, 29 such letters went out. In 2011, 50 such letters went out. When he blended the classroom in the fall course last semester, 2 letters had to go out. So I'll give you an example of San Jose State, community colleges, MIT. So across the board, these preliminary experimental data is indicating that students seem to be liking it, and the results can be quite good as well. I can go on and on. The Berkeley campus experience, both class ratings and scores. UMass Boston, again, similar results. Let me close by talking about some of the research. So at edX, we gather all of this data on the platform. I like to think of it as a particle accelerator for learning. We capture, it's all online, so we capture how long students spend on homework, what are their answers, how many attempts, how long do they watch videos. And based on that, a lot of researchers are mining this big data and to learn about how students learn and try to improve learning. So I'll give you 2 such vignettes. So one of them is, you always wonder, is homework a good thing? Okay, so my son, who's a sophomore, has always told me that homeworks are just such a bad idea. They're useless. It never helps. And so here's some data. This shows the amount of time that students spent on homework on the x-axis, okay, in this MOOC course, and this was for the circuits course. And then on the y-axis, total number of points in the course, not the homework points. Homework only counted for about 10%, but the total grade in the course. And notice that and each of these dots represents a student. And so these are thousands and thousands of data points, thousands and thousands of MOOC students. And notice the nice positive correlation between the overall performance in the course to amount of time spent on homework. So I would like professors to simply show this curve before any course and tell them, look, history shows that if you spend more time on your homework, in the past, people have done better on their exams in the overall course. Another interesting piece of data, how long should our lectures, how long should the videos be? Should they be, our traditional classes have 50-minute classes and heavens forbid, 1.5-hour classes. So we looked at videos and said, so on edX, across a number of courses, researcher Philip Guo did this study. Videos range in length from 1 minute to, believe it or not, an hour. So we looked at how much time did students spend watching all of these videos. And the shocking thing you noticed was when videos are 3 minutes long, the x-axis shows time, video length, and the y-axis said engagement time of the student. And we know all of this stuff. There's no subjectivity to this because we measure all of this stuff. We don't have to ask the students, how long did you do something? So the video is less than 3 minutes long. They watch it for around that time. If the video is about 4 or 5 minutes long, they watch it for 4 or 5 minutes. And it goes up and it peaks at about 6 minutes. If the video is anywhere from 15 to 40 minutes long, students watch it for between 2 and 3 minutes. So as a professor, you can go in and have this punchy 1-hour video, and students will watch it for 2 or 3 minutes. Oh, whoop-de-doo. So what that says is that, look, people want information in bite-sized chunks, and the videos need to be on the order of 6 to 7 to 8 minutes. And this is, again, from data. So let me pause there, and I think we may have time for 1 or 2 questions, if there are any. Thank you. Yes, go ahead. I'll repeat I can repeat the question if you. Great question. The question was, how many TAs do you need for a MOOC? And the thesis was you need a lot of TAs. So first of all, I mean, clearly, more helpers, the better. And we have not done a study, but it's on a MOOC. It's easy enough to do a study and to run the course again and again with varying number of TAs. However, I think what we found is that you actually don't need a huge number of official TAs from the universities. And the reason is what we've done is that, first of all, the students are helping each other. 99.9% of questions are answered by other students in a peer-to-peer form of learning, and students love to do that. In addition, when a course runs, we send an email to all the students asking them to sign up as what we call community TAs. And they are recognized as a community TA on the discussion forums on the website. And it becomes like a nice little badge of honor for them. And large number of students sign up as community TAs, and we don't even pay them anything. So they sign up as a public service and help out and help other students as they go through the course. But that's a good question, and I think something that is well worth studying. Yes. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Jim Bauer. So first, I really want to congratulate you for showing data, because in education, data really matters. And in the world of education and technology, data is often hidden. So that's great. I was recently at a conference in which you presented data looking at the actual accomplishments already of the people who've completed online MOOCs. And somewhat not surprisingly, I think the data showed that most of the people taking MOOCs online actually have master's or PhD degrees, the ones that are completing, which leads to the suggestion or idea that if you already know how to learn where there's one professor and many students, you're much better at using MOOCs, and that MOOCs, therefore, at least online, are not likely to replace universities because the needs of freshmen are quite different than the needs of people that already have masters and PhDs. So I was wondering if you'd comment on that. But again, like I said,
Sure.
It's spectacular that you guys are presenting this data.
Thank you. So first of all, I'm going to point out that our measurements on edX show that about 2/3 of our learners are what you might call continuing learners, people who already have a bachelor's. But 1/3 of our learners are people who do not have a bachelor's degree, so they're not continuing learners. And 1/3 of 2 million is a big number. And so even though 2/3 are people who have a degree, 1/3 are people who do not, so that is still a big number. But that said, there is the question of how do people, what do you do about the others who do not have a degree already? How does online impact them? Will online replace campus? So I want to make very clear, online technologies and MOOCs will not replace campus. And all the data I showed you were about blended classes. So I believe that we can get the best of both worlds by combining MOOC technology with in-person help within the classroom, within universities. But what we have to do is much in the spirit of this conference, we have to transform the university. What will the university look like in the future? And as my article on Unbundled discusses, I believe that universities will move gradually towards a model where they incorporate online technologies with on-campus technologies, even change the way the classrooms look. From big classrooms, go to interactive spaces. And so university won't go away, just that I do not believe universities will look exactly the same 20 years from now. Okay. Thank you.